The Artemis II went around the moon, if you believe in NASA, and landed in the ocean. I fell down the stairs. My landing spot was the closet door. We're talking rookie landing spots from the 2026 NFL Draft. Producer, hit that button. Welcome to another edition of the Fantasy Forecast with Grindberg and Bigz. He is Grindberg. I am Bigz. Schultzy is in the corner doing his thing. We're here to talk about rookie landing spots from the 2026 NFL Draft. We are hyped. We've got the values. We've got the new rankings. We waited all offseason to find out where these players were going to be going, what situations they were going to be falling to, and we've got some redraft tips for you. How are you boys doing?
Doing pretty good, man. It was a crazy weekend full of excitement and not so much excitement in that second day here, but we had a lot of fun here on the network. We are catching our breath, and we are back to give the goods to our viewers. Everybody, thank you for joining us once again. Appreciate everybody tuning in over the weekend. Hope you got a lot out of it. And Schultzy, man, how you doing after the draft weekend? Definitely not whiskey.
Well, hey, I'm great. I notice I feel a little left out, Bigz. I'm gonna be honest. You said if for people if you believe in NASA, and then you said something about the ocean, and then you didn't say if for people who don't believe in that. I don't believe in the ocean, and you left me out. So,
Schultzy, the ocean exists. I've been there. You may have been landlocked in Indiana, but I'm here in California, and we definitely have ocean.
Oh, we have ocean.
Ocean's 11. Let's go, boys. Okay, well, today we're going to be talking about the risers. Next week we'll be talking about the fallers of these landing spots, and we're going to talk about the tight ends, the quarterback positions first. We each pegged a guy here that we think
we love pegging guys.
Yeah, exactly, especially in the early rounds here. So we're going to talk about our guys here that we thought rose the board here. Starting with you, Bigz. Let's get the graphics up on the screen here. Hopefully, it doesn't short out like normal.
Yeah, right.
All right, Bigz. Talk about your guy and his landing spot.
Okay, so I'm talking about Garrett Nussmeier. In 2024, he was a fourth-year quarterback. 4,052 passing yards, threw for 29 touchdowns, led the NCAA in completions and attempts. All in all, that's a pretty stellar year. He gets hurt and comes back the next year, and LSU was a mess, and he was hurt. So he should have. I've talked ad nauseum on all of our shows about guys that chose NIL money and to not enter the draft and how it hurt them. And it definitely hurt Garrett Nussmeier. So Nussmeier goes into the draft and he goes to the Kansas City Chiefs. I can't think of a better landing spot than to hold a clipboard behind Patrick Mahomes with Patrick Mahomes' new penchant for getting injured. He's trying to get back, play the season. There's a chance that he's going to, but he's also coming off an injury. He's also been in the league for a while. He's also been a mobile quarterback and has put his body on the line many, many times. So there is a possibility that at any point, sorry, Mike, Patrick Mahomes gets hurt. Now, you have a guy who's established. One of the things that we've seen in the analytics over the last few years is that total college snaps is starting to really matter at the NFL level. And you have a guy that now has, a spot on a Chiefs team that doesn't really have a whole lot of quarterback competition on the back end. They've got Patrick Mahomes. They're doing their best. They have Justin Fields. But Garrett Nussmeier is going to be a better NFL quarterback than Justin Fields. Maybe not in fantasy, but in real life. And that can mean a whole lot if Garrett Nussmeier is starting 17 games and Justin Fields remains a backup. So Garrett Nussmeier to the Chiefs, hate the draft capital, love the landing spot. He's probably not going to be on any radars unless something happens to Patrick Mahomes. It doesn't mean he's draftable in redraft, but he's definitely one to keep your eye on. I know that most of the apps have a little thing where you can hit an alert button, and so anytime something comes up, every time you go to that list in the players, the free agents, you can go to that tab and that person will come up. Keep Garrett Nussmeier in your thoughts.
Love it, Bigz. Good call there. I mean, I'm a Chiefs guy, so I like the depth here. Like you mentioned, I mean, God forbid Patrick Mahomes gets injured. I mean, he is injured right now and is recovering for, that's why they brought in Justin Fields. So it is a possibility in the future here too. So yeah, I think getting a guy like him, on an LSU team and, saw some things happen over his years there. So yeah, I like what you call there. And, brings to my next situation here, another quarterback that certainly has an opportunity here. And, the NFL draft did deliver some exciting moments. And to me, one of the most exciting days for me leading into day 3 was the selection of Taylen Green to the Cleveland Browns, the 6'6" elite mobility quarterback, brings the modern dual threat archetype that, us fantasy managers, we crave for, especially in super flex leagues. And obviously this is a redraft show, but a guy to keep your eye on here because you don't know. I mean, this could be fantasy relevant as, halfway through the year here because a guy in a competition that's wide open here, Shedeur Sanders, Deshaun Watson, there's not a staple, a stamp, starting quarterback in here. And for Dynasty, for redraft players, Green represents a very high upside developmental talent with immediate stash value in league hungry for, young quarterbacks that are mobile, who can create with their legs. And we know what Todd Monken, he likes his mobile quarterbacks. He's, known to, be with them like Lamar Jackson. I'm not saying that Taylen Green is going to be the next Lamar Jackson, but you got to think the upside there. There you go. I mean, this is historic combine athleticism we're talking about. A 4.36 40-yard dash, a 9.99 RAS score, a 43-inch vertical, 11.2 broad jump. That's huge. College dual threat production. He threw 2,700 yards, 19 touchdowns. His big time throw rate was pretty decent, and he's got a decent arm. He just needs to be a little bit more accurate, and that's something that he can maybe do something with. Comparable. I got him as a way better Anthony Richardson, and we know what the steam he got, and now he gets better draft capital than Shedeur Sanders. He gets a situation where he can really thrive in, and Taylen Green didn't just rise, he sprinted past draft boards with his 4.36 speed, and he's a guy got on my radar, even in redraft. Maybe not yet, but certainly probably going to be a waiver wire at some point of the season. I would have to assume here. Bigz, you're really high on him as well.
Absolutely. And here's the thing, especially in fantasy. Now, what happens when a regime change happens in a franchise? The guys that weren't the choice of the incumbent or of the incoming new guy, they tend to kind of go to the back burner. Now, the Cleveland Browns in 2025, they drafted both Dillon Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders. Both of them were bottom 40 in efficiency at the quarterback play. They were statistically two of the worst quarterbacks in the league. A lot of that has to do with the Cleveland Browns offensive situation. We saw Joe Flacco put up similar numbers to both Gabriel and Shedeur, and then he goes to Cincinnati, a better offensive environment, and he actually thrives a little bit more. We have Deshaun Watson, who is coming off of a season loss to injury and a lot of controversy and all that stuff. He is in that room at this point. He is the one with the NFL track record to succeed, and even in fantasy to succeed. He's had really good seasons. Maybe they were 5 years ago, but he's put it on tape. Neither of the other three guys have. What Dillon Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders have put on tape is absolutely trash. So you go into training camp. You have Deshaun Watson, who's coming off of injury, as probably the favorite to win the job. And then you have Taylen Green, who when he gets out into doing drills and stuff like that, he's going to show that he can escape the pocket. He's going to avoid getting sacked, something that Shedeur Sanders cannot do. And he's going to win the QB2 job if Deshaun Watson is the starter. Now, if something happens to Deshaun Watson along the way, Taylen Green is going to be starting games, meaningful games for the 2026 Cleveland Browns. I love the draft capital. I love the fact that he's a Monken guy. Monken went out and said, I like him. I'll deal with these two other jokers later. Shedeur Sanders and Dylan Gabriel, probably not long for the Browns. Taylen Green is in the catbird seat with the QB2. He's going to win that out of camp. And if he gets on the field, he's going to produce in fantasy because he's going to give you those 70, 80 rushing yards a game. He's going to punch the ball in. He's going to have a 60% completion percentage. He's got two new wide receivers to throw to that aren't named Cedric Tillman and Jerry Jeudy. Jerry Jeudy was one of the biggest albatrosses for Shedeur Sanders and Dylan Gabriel that last year. So he's going to be thrown to a couple of big-time guys. And as they grow together, that Cleveland offense, Todd Monken, he's building a program. They're going to be garbage, hot garbage for a couple seasons. But once those guys all get time on task, they're going to start to break out. So in Dynasty, of course, Taylen Green is like, I probably have him rated as my QB3 in the class. In redraft, he's definitely, again, somebody that you're going to want to watch. I wouldn't have a problem rostering him at some point if it looks like when we get to redraft drafts, if it looks like he's won that backup role over Deshaun Watson, I would not be opposed with drafting him very, very late. So love the Taylen Green landing spot. He's the biggest riser for me at quarterback. He would have been mine, but you took him first because you knew I would have.
All right there, Schultzy. Let's get into your guy who surprised a lot of people on draft day, especially night one, when a lot of guys were out there. And we're going to talk about Ty Simpson here, Schultzy. So take it away, man. Huge landing spot there for him.
Yeah, not like a ton to say here about him. It's all about the draft capital here, right? I mean, when you're a quarterback, you get taken pick 13, like that's a big deal. I know there's been a lot of speculation about how it happened, what the relationship with McVay might look like. They're going to get over it, right? Like McVay's shown this before where he's looked like he's pissed off about something, and he may be, but he gets over it because he understands this is a job to do. Like he's a professional, and he's dang good professional at that, right? So for me, it's just the draft capital's the big deal here. But Ty Simpson's he's a pretty good processor. Going through his reads, he's got like good mechanics that just like classic, typical quarterback mechanics. Like he's got those down well. Like he can operate in the pocket pretty well. Sometimes to a detriment, he'll hold on to it too long. But like he can do it, climb the pocket, keep his eyes up. He's good. There's a lot of things we love to see from a quarterback here. But the thing I love, like I said, is the draft capital. But it's the partnership with Sean McVay we're going to get. A lot of these traits that I mentioned, the processing, the keeping your eyes downfield, navigating in the pocket, stuff like these are all things that are going to pair really well in a Sean McVay offense. We saw what he did to Jared Goff and what that did to his career. I'm not super concerned about Ty Simpson transitioning over. He's going to get to learn behind Matt Stafford, take some time to ride the bench here. And now we've been talking redraft here. A similar situation to the other two guys. We're like, look, we've got one quarterback in this class. No, we don't. In my head, number one quarterback, he's the guy. No, we don't even have a quarterback in this class who's slated to start this year. So it is a little different, but you get to learn behind Matt Stafford, and if there's an injury or something, second half of the season, that's when these guys can start to get rolling. The biggest knock here is the lack of starting, the lack of experience. But like I said, I love the pairing. I don't know if there was a better landing spot for him as far as growing into a successful NFL quarterback.
Yep.
Yeah, the development is there. The most surprising thing for me was seeing that he had 1,303 rushing yards for Penn State last year. I mean, if you're drafting that guy for quarterback at number 13, no, I do like the Ty Simpson landing spot. So we have things like quarterback goes in the first round. We have like draft capital, landing spots, things like that when we do player evaluations. But there are some behind the scenes things, like the fact that the only other quarterback that Sean McVay has drafted was fourth rounder Stetson Bennett. Now, you know that he liked Stetson Bennett's brain. He drafted him to come in and kind of watch. He drafted Ty Simpson with the 13th pick in the draft. He gave him that draft capital. He's giving him that contract. Ty Simpson is going to be paid money. He's not going to be paid money to be a backup when Stafford leaves, and he's not going to be paid money to sit behind somebody else who's getting paid less money if Matthew Stafford gets hurt. So all around, it's a really great situation for Ty Simpson.
Yeah, I mean, people were like, worried about McVay's reaction. I think this was all planned out. They couldn't go to the media and say they were interested in Ty Simpson, because if the Rams were interested in Ty Simpson, it's going to steam up his value, right? Like that was a move they made. And anybody else that would have maybe been in that role at 13, they were looking at maybe wide receiver, Mekhi Lemon, maybe Casey Concepcion. And if you think about that, those guys aren't going to make an immediate impact in that wide receiver room anyway, right away, year one. So might as well take the quarterback at that spot, which they'll probably not have a draft pick that early. Let him sit behind Matthew Stafford and, learn under McVay. And I think this was a very calculated move from the Rams. Again, very savvy here. So I like it, Schultzy. I like it, Bigz. I like what you said. And before we get back to it, folks, I'm going to give a quick shout out to one of our sponsors, and that is Fantasy Spin. If you want a different kind of fantasy daily experience, Fantasy Spin lets you spin your lineup, make your picks, and compete in tournaments based on real player performances. Check the link in the description and in the pinned comments. Use promo code FORECAST. Deposit at least $10 and play at least one tournament to get $30 in bonus play. Support the network. Check out Fantasy Spin, and let's make some noise. Schultzy, you've had a little bit of experience playing this game. Tell us a little bit about it.
Okay, so yes, I saw that we made this, sponsorship, and I was like, shoot, I love DFS games. I'm in. So I signed up. Yeah, dude, this is a lot of fun. You get in, you pick your league. I've been playing for like $5, and then each league it gives you a certain number of spins and a certain number of locks, and then the spins it spins each position in your lineup like a slot machine, and just gives you a random player, and then you get to pick if you want to lock them or keep spinning, and then so it is a little bit of luck. It's a little bit of strategy involved. It's a lot of fun. You get to throw a lineup in like no time. First night I did it, I won a 57-man contest, won $70. So I've been playing with some bonus money since then. It's new. It's really innovative. It's really fun. I'm really excited for football to come around to play with this, because once you can start to I don't know MLB, unlike I do football, to where I can have real strategy doing this. I'm still kind of just picking guys for fun. But like when I know every player and I know like which matchups I can exploit and how to exploit those and stuff, there's going to be a lot more added strategy to building these lineups, and I look forward to that. Definitely recommend.
I played also. I came in 10th, but that was out of 22 people. And so, it was for the first time, like I played a baseball game, and in that game, basically what it does is it gives you the projected points. And so obviously, not having played before, I went through, and every time I made a spin, I just locked in the guys that had the highest total projected points. With baseball, that's a game where you have 3 bad games and then 1 good game in the 4th game, and you're still considered a good player. So it's really, really hard. I can't wait for the football season to play this, because I'm going to have more of an edge than I do with baseball, and football is a lot more predictable, especially in the DFS side of it. So I love the theme of it. You get a lot of chances to have players pop up, and then you could be like, yeah, this dude has a good matchup, lock him in. Oh, this dude has high projected points, but his matchup is bad. I'm going to stay away from him. Spin again. So I think it's going to be real fun.
Awesome. Okay, guys, let's get back into the action here. And now in this segment, we're going to focus in on the rookie wide receivers whose draft stock has risen significantly, and we'll spotlight some right now. Bigz, let's start with your guy, and I like it. I like it a lot. I mean, one of the best landing spots, great draft capital, and I'm all about my Carnell Tate in year one here. He's moved up my board to obviously my number one in this class, but talk about Carnell Tate, who was always your number one. So, talk about your boy.
Yeah, he was my number one wide receiver in rookies in Dynasty, but he shoots up my rankings in redraft. I'm going to be drafting this guy as a wide receiver 2, whereas before he had a landing spot, we really didn't know. There are some guys who we thought were going to, be pretty good, that their landing spot wasn't exactly great. Yeah. I'm talking about Malachi Fields, Chris Brazel, Ted Hurst. Like, Ted Hurst is somebody who had a ton of steam, but he lands in the 3rd round, which isn't ideal for immediate fantasy production, and he lands on a loaded Tampa Bay Buccaneers team, who also drafted another wide receiver who's pretty darn good. So we have situations like that. Carnell Tate wound up in the best position that he possibly could. If you look back with the development of Caleb Williams is starting to elevate all of the wide receivers that he has in his room. Cam Ward is going to be doing the same thing. There's Alec Manor. He's really the only target competition for Carnell Tate. They don't have a whole lot of target competition at the running back or at the tight end position. So he's going to be in a position where he can slot in as the wide receiver 2 or 1, because I think he's far better than Alec Manor. He has an opportunity to do like a Malik Neighbors and be the rookie and be a wide receiver 1 on his team, be Cam Ward's favorite target. We knew that he was NFL ready coming out of the draft. We knew that he was going to be a plug-and-play week 1 guy, but this landing spot for him is absolutely ideal. He has a huge opportunity to be the wide receiver 1 in week 1, and so I'm drafting him higher in redraft than I thought I would.
Yeah, man, I love this.
Sorry, go ahead. I don't even think this is an opportunity to be the wide receiver 1. This is the wide receiver 1.
That's kind of what I'm saying.
Like for me, if the only way A.O. Manor went to the season as wide receiver 1 of this team was avoiding wide receiver in the first 3-4 rounds of the draft. And when you take a guy 4th overall, especially at this skill set, like A.O. Manor's cooked.
Absolutely. So what we do is in the preseason process, post-draft, before the drafts really start, the incumbent wide receiver 1 tends to stay in that place on the depth chart. Once we get through training camp, it's going to be very clear that Carnell Tate is the main target in this offense.
Yeah, I mean, this is like, to me, this is the best landing spot he could have gotten in that first round, to be honest. I mean, when you think about it, this
Except
is...
the Raiders.
Yeah, but who would have been throwing? I guess Kirk Cousins. I mean, yeah, fair enough. But I mean, no one, we're going to take him 1st overall. So him going and the draft capital he went to, people were saying that maybe the Giants could have been a good landing spot, but and then you got Malik Neighbors to compete with. This is an outside receiver, ex-receiver now is going to gain valuable target share that I didn't think he was going to get right out of the gate, because he's going to be the number 1 there, and Wandell's going to maybe get the underneath stuff, but this is going to get some intermediate route stuff that I didn't think he'd get, and now he's going to get all the downfield. They're going to design stuff for him. This is the perfect spot for him with the capital, and on top of all the other landing spots. I mean, Tyson I like, but I mean, he's not going to get the target volume that Carnell Tate's going to get, I don't think, right out of the gate, especially, recovering from that injury. So I'm with you, Bigz, here. 100%. Carnell Tate is a redraft guy that I'm going to be aggressively on, because people aren't going to catch up to that ADP because he is a rookie. And that's where the money's made here on the back half of rookie seasons. And Carnell Tate is probably going to come out of the gate swinging. And I'm going to say it right now. He may be on pace to beating one of the Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, if I'm expecting what I see out of the Cam Ward year 2 here. So I'm really high on what I see, and I like what they brought in with Nick Singleton as well. I just think that Tony Pollard is going to be their goose, and Nick Singleton is going to really benefit here as well. So love the call,
steal my
Bigz.
thunder.
Love the call, Bigz, and everything is lining up huge.
Yeah, and we're not going to talk about these guys, but I do want to kind of reiterate there's an analytic in fantasy football where draft capital matters so much that the highest rate of guys that hit in their rookie seasons were drafted in the top 50 of the NFL draft. Carnell Tate, obviously. Jordan Tyson goes to the Saints. Let me make sure. I don't know who you guys have. Anyway, but the guys I wanted to talk about were Denzel Boston and Jeremy Bernard. Those guys both went in the top 50. Denzel Boston to Cleveland and Jeremy Bernard to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Bernard has the opportunity to get in as the slot receiver in a Mike McCarthy offense playing lots of 11 personnel, so there's not 3 wide receivers on the field, and it's going to be him and DK Metcalf. And then Denzel Boston has an opportunity to show how good he is, even though somebody else got higher draft capital. He's going to have maybe an opportunity to create a good relationship with Deshaun Watson and show how good he actually is as a primary target. So those 2 guys drafted in the top 50, keep them on your lists too.
I love it. All right, let's get into my guy here, and a guy that I really liked headed into this process, but I even like the landing spot even more for Ted Hurst. And, he was one of the more compelling wide receivers coming from a Division II school at the start, and then, dominating Georgia State. And now look at what he's at now. He's with the Bucs, in the 3rd round. It gives him immediate opportunity, potentially in a passing attack that is long supported, relevant wide receivers. 6'4", 206 could be, the heir of one Mike Evans as far as maybe their game plan goes down the line here. And I think the day 2 brings a lot of upside, and I think he can develop into a weekly starter, especially if a guy like, Chris Godwin goes down. I don't see this being a path for fantasy relevance right away for Ted Hurst, because he's going to have a couple wide receivers to climb over, a guy that Bigz and I have been high on for many years here in Jalen McMillan. But, I think Ted Hurst brings a different side of the game here as well, and I think they can all operate together in 3 wide receiver sets, and eventually I think Ted Hurst could maybe take on that, red zone threat, vertical, downfield, contested catch kind of guy. And I think that this is a good opportunity for him in an offense that is ascending. Baker Mayfield had an injury-riddled season last year, and I think that, a year past that with the progression of Emeka Ibuka and the things that are going around here, I think this is the team on the rise. And like I said, that contested catch dominance, he hauled in 33 of 54 contested catches, 61% rate. Ted Hurst had the massive catch radius. So I think this is their version of Mike Evans, maybe not as prolific, but you never know here. So like what I see here, and it's certainly worth a stab, and a guy that is on my radar in redraft this year.
Yeah, if his nickname isn't Cheddarst, I'm throwing stuff.
Love it. I love it. All right, Schultzy, talk to us about your guy who got extremely good draft capital.
Yeah, this guy's a riser off his draft capital, but I don't like him, and I'm not drafting him. But, hey, he's a riser, and that's the name of the episode. And we come out here with DeJon Stribling, and he was picked 33. And when you were looking at the board, most people were looking at this to be like a triple-digit pick, depending on where you were looking. But, consensus was, probably 4th round, it was pretty solid projection, and they went ahead and took him at the top of round 2. We got a guy who ran a 4.36, 10.7 broad jump, tested well on the RAS scale overall. He's mainly a vertical threat. He can do a little bit more. The thing I do think is positive about his profile is all he's done has improved, and there's something to say about that. He started off at Washington State. transferred up to Oklahoma State in the Big 12, and then at the end here transferred up again to Ole Miss in the SEC. Posted solid stats overall, and then showed out in the college football playoff. So like there is that. It's not all full of negatives here. However, the draft capital, there's an asterisk here, and the asterisk here is that through the tenure of John Lynch as GM, and I mean Kyle Shanahan is tenure in San Francisco as well, but mainly John Lynch is as GM. A lot of draft reaches here, and a lot of draft reaches that don't pan out. And if you're gonna pretty much say like screw consensus, we're doing our own thing, that's fine. But when it's years of it not working, you can't be that arrogant anymore. And these guys still do it every year. So a huge worry for me at the fact that they went out and reached this high for him. So like, I understand the draft capital is a very important piece of the puzzle, but sometimes there's a caveat, there's always a caveat to these things. And I think Stribling is a huge caveat. I'm not sold on him as a player. I'm not sold on the situation he walks into. I think like your ceiling here is just a vertical threat. We've got Mike Evans, like Pearsall's still here. CMC is going to get all this work. Eventually Kittle's going to come back. Like, I just don't see the path here, on top of the fact that I don't love the profile. Don't love the guy, but you can't knock the fact that he just got taken at pick 33 and his ADP will skyrocket as a result.
Absolutely. He's a riser. I was absolutely shocked when this pick happened. But reading over some of the stuff, there are people coming out of the woodwork that say that they had him over Mekhi Lemon in their rankings. And these are not Dynasty. These are not fantasy analysts. These are like NFL scouts and commentators and stuff like that. The profile is absolutely terrible. He never had a 1,000-yard season. His best seasons came as in year 5 and year 6 after transferring to 3 schools, although he did transfer vertically from one bad conference to a mid-conference to a great conference. So I do like that part of it. You know that the 49ers have faith in him, and you know that the 49ers have an absolutely terrible relationship with Brandon Ayuk. So yes, Mike Evans is a big downfield threat. Dejon Stribling is a lower half strength guy. He's got the power to speed, athleticism that you want. If Kyle Shanahan knows what he's doing, and I think that we know that he does, I don't have any problem with Stribling being the wide receiver 2 on this team. I think he's better than Pearsall immediately, and I think he's going to demand more targets in more different situations. So, yes, he's a riser. No, I don't love him at that draft capital, and I never would have done that either. But he's definitely somebody that I'm keeping my eye on in camp.
100%. And I think that, you can't ignore it. And there's a couple other teams that I heard as well that were really high in him, like the Titans. And if they didn't go out and get Tate, if love was there for him, they would have had him as their second pick as well. So something to keep of note. And certainly, when they come from the McVay or Shanahan tree, they produce such high percentages of league winners, especially at certain areas. It's almost worth the dart throw. I'm not sold on Ricky Pearsall and giving up this kind of draft capital. Maybe is their next stage here. Obviously, they reached for him. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to deny that, but we got to keep that in mind here. And he's got a direct path for snaps. He's got a direct path for an opportunity here. So I like the call here, Schultzy, and somebody I'm probably going to be exposed to quite a bit of because of his price and maybe the opportunity to really excel there. So I'm going to hedge my bet and certainly get some of Dejon Stribling. All right, let's get into our spotlights here. All right, Bigz, and we're going to talk about the running backs that are steaming up the boards here, and a guy you've been talking about. You haven't given up on him, and I'm excited to hear you talk about your guy, Bigz. So let's roll those videos, Schultzy.
let's flip the tile. There we go. Nicholas Singleton goes to the Tennessee Titans. I absolutely love this for him. All right, if we're looking at this chart, we see that he had a freshman year breakout, 1,061 yards, 12 touchdowns. He got hurt. He did it again in 2024 as a junior, 1,099 yards, 12 touchdowns. The key is when you look at his receiving, he had 26 receptions, 41 receptions, and 24 receptions. We look for guys that catch over 20 passes to call them a 3-down running back. There are some knocks on Singleton. A lot of people don't like his vision, but if you are in a smash, a power run game, and you get a big hole opened up for you, you can garner 20 carries a game just running between the tackles. And if he has an opportunity to get into space with the ball, he does present some yak ability. He runs kind of upright. He doesn't break a lot of tackles. He doesn't make a lot of people miss. So essentially he's going to be like, say if David Montgomery had the ability to catch like Jahmyr Gibbs, it's going to be kind of like that. But you put that into a 6 foot, 220 pound frame, that BMI is perfect. And now we look at his landing spot. He goes to the Tennessee Titans, who are a team on the rise. They have a quarterback who's developing, and he's going to be even better this year and next year. You have a running back room where Tony Pollard has a $9 million cap hit for 2026. That's not good news for Singleton, because it means that even if he plays well in training camp, they're still going to go with the money. They can't cut Pollard. But Pollard has an injury history and also an inefficiency. We get to start seeing Nicholas Singleton on third downs as Tyjae Spears goes out there on third downs. He has an opportunity, especially in dynasty leagues over the next couple of years, to start the 2027 season as the primary 18 to 22 carry running back for the Tennessee Titans. Loved it in dynasty. In redraft, I'm a little bit more skeptical, although he did rise because of his landing spot. He has an ability to outplay Tyjae Spears because he can do more when he's on the field than Tyjae Spears can. And he also can catch passes better than Tony Pollard can. So look for Tony Pollard to be the starter. Look for Tyjae Spears to immediately be the running back 2. Nicholas Singleton to start as that RB3. But anything that happens, and again, we're talking about redraft, we're talking about rookies, we're talking about day 2, day 3 landing spots. So we're not talking about these being risers as they're going to be immediate starters, except for Carnell Tate. We're talking about guys that we're going to keep our eyes on, and once opportunities present themselves, they're going to be big waiver wire pickups. If you have a long roster and you want to stash somebody, if you have Tony Pollard and you want to draft a handcuff for him, it's going to be Nicholas Singleton, and love this. I love his profile.
I love this so much, Bigz, and I'm actually pretty high on him this year too. I think this is going to be a year for them to progress, and Salah, that whole regime, they put their money where their mouth is, and maybe Tate wasn't there. Maybe Love wasn't there for them, but they had a backup plan, and Tate and Singleton was that. So I love this call, Bigz, and I'm very high on him, and I'm going to try and get him in a lot of spots. And I'm going to take a late round flyer on him in redraft because I could see the upside here. I want to get him before I even have to put Fab down. So if it's a deeper bench, he's a guy I'm going to have on there because of those ambiguous backfields. I'm not saying he's going to outtouch Tony Pollard. He's the hammer, but Singleton brings a lot of upside in the passing game, and he seems a little bit more durable than somebody that doesn't really have a knee. So
let me put my Coach Retzlaff hat on for a second. So you are the Tennessee Titans. Would you rather draft Love and Stribling when you have Tony Pollard, and you do have a couple of wide receivers in Wan'Dale Robinson and Elekeo Manor? Or would you rather go Carnell Tate and Nicholas Singleton? Which one?
I'm going Tate and Singleton.
I tend to agree.
Yeah, that's a really big toss-up for me. I guess I might lean that way just because of positional value. I do, on the flip side, though, I think Jeremiah Love is more of an impact player than Carnell Tate is. I just think when you go on the flip side of that, like Singleton paired with Pollard is fine versus like Ao Manor and Stribling on the outside as an NFL squad is not fine.
Sure. Okay.
That's fair. All right, let's get into my spotlight, Schultzy. Let's roll the clip. So we were waiting for the dominoes to fall in the running backs, and day 3, it certainly delivered its talents. And Claiborne, the blend of elite speed, proven production, made him one of the clearest risers for me. His impressive combine, strong college tape at Wake Forest, pushed his draft stock upward, and now he lands in a later round selection here, but with the Minnesota Vikings in a backfield that values explosive playmakers. Claiborne lands in the ideal spot for me in a change of pace, receiving work with starter upside if maybe Jordan Mason goes down, and obviously Aaron Jones is going to be there right out of the gate here, but I see Claiborne as a an heir to that throne, if you will, in that pass catching side. And, maybe down the line, if an injury or two happens, Claiborne can make his way in there. I was waiting for the Vikings to pick a running back in this draft, and I was really hoping that it would be one of the guys that I was really high on headed into, and Claiborne was one of them. What sets him apart is his track speed combined with a solid 3-year college workload and a landing spot that rewards his burst, versatility. That Vikings room has dynamic complement role written all over it. And I think the post-draft here, Claiborne has climbed up rookie ADP boards, but I like it a lot. And I think I'm going to have a little bit more of him because he could be a guy that could really steam up later in the season here if he can pick up his assignments. Yes, he's slight. He's not a very big guy, but I can't discount what I can see here as upside. And let's go with Claiborne, guys. I know that, Schultzy, you were really high on him headed into the process. Do you like this landing spot? You must be high on that.
Oh, absolutely. We talked about how he profiles as like a complementary piece. We've got that right away, but there's nothing to say with this landing spot that he can't be the primary the primary guy in a shared backfield versus this guy could go be the 1B, but with this landing spot, I still think I don't think workhorse volume is in his future ever, but I think with this landing spot being the 1A to someone else's 1B is possible, and that's great.
Love it. All right, let's get into your spot.
I was going to say what he reminds me of is Kyle Monungai from last year. So Monungai was a guy who he was a 5th-year guy, but he did have 1,262 rushing yards, 1,279 rushing yards and 13 touchdowns in his second 2 seasons. In his final 2 seasons. He's not the pass-catching back that Claiborne is, but my comp there is more in the fact that Monungai was kind of down on people's boards and got some value for you as a rookie in that Chicago Bears backfield. And I think Claiborne can have an arc in his rookie season similar to Kyle Monungai.
Love the call. Love it, Bigz. Thanks for proving my point and enhancing it. So, Schultzy, let's get into your spotlight, my man.
Yeah, so for me, draft capital has been the theme of all of my picks. And we got Jadarian Price, our second running back off the board at pick 32 overall to the Seahawks. And so, first of all, the running backs, as we talked about on the running back ranking show, the 2 through 5 spot, you pick your poison, I guess. You know what I mean? Like, however you want to rank those guys, nobody could fault anybody for whatever order you had those 4 dudes. We just needed to see how the draft played out and then to see how the pieces fell into place. And well, it turns out the NFL thought Jadarian Price was the second best running back, and it wasn't even close. Not only did the Seahawks take him at the tail end of round 1 here, there was rumors that Jacksonville was interested. Had he slipped into the second round, that maybe they were going to trade up to get him. Like, there was a lot of rumors about Jadarian Price in general that showed you that the NFL valued this guy a lot. Now, beyond that, what was it? Well, I guess Kalen Black went in the third round, which was super mega shocking. But beyond that, it was what? The fourth round, Jonah Coleman was the next guy, I believe. Anyways, the disparity in the capital here firmly plants Jadarian Price as the running back 2 in the class. And not only does draft capital tell you the story, but the landing spot it does as well. We've got a backfield where all they did was sign a total mid-free agent to fill some roster after losing Kenneth Walker. The writing was on the wall that they were probably going to add a running back in this draft. I don't know if anybody thought it'd be at pick 32, but here we are. Price is stepping into a workhorse spot, especially with Charbonnet coming back from ACL injury here. But I mean, we've got a guy with the touches are a little limited, and I think running back